Hi, this is Sofia Gravania, nutrition health coach focused on gut health and longevity. And today I'm at the Biohacking Congress here in Miami, having the pleasure to interview Dr. Nathan Bryan. All things about nitric dioxide and very exciting projects that Dr. Bryan's working on. How are you? Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much. Doing very well, thanks.
So, Dr. Bryan, you just had a beautiful lecture. It was amazing. You had so many questions, and there were some shocking facts there about nitric dioxide and how it decreases in our body the more we age. So, could you explain a little bit more? What is it, and why is it so important?
Sure. Well, it's always a pleasure being at the Biohacking Congress. This is a really cool community, and people really in tune with how to optimize their performance and live better quality lives. And nitric oxide is part of that. Nitric oxide is a molecule that's naturally produced in the lining of the blood vessels. It controls blood flow and oxygen delivery to every cell in the body. And as you mentioned, the older we get, the less nitric oxide we make. And the science tells us that it's the loss of nitric oxide that contributes to chronic disease. So your body cannot and will not heal without nitric oxide. So that's what we spent the last 20 years on, is trying to figure out what goes wrong in people that can't make nitric oxide, and then how do we fix that. So we now have technology that overcomes the nitric oxide deficiency in every single person.
Right. How are we able to produce naturally nitric oxide?
Well, there's two ways the body makes nitric oxide. So there's an enzyme found in the lining of the blood vessels. That enzyme converts arginine to nitric oxide. That's what controls blood vessel tone and blood pressure throughout the entire body. So the older we get, the less nitric oxide we make through that pathway. So there's a backup system that we can use through our diet, primarily through green leafy vegetables and the consumption of inorganic nitrate that the body converts into nitric oxide. So now we can use diet and exercise as well as product technology to overcome nitric oxide deficiency.
Now that's great, and it's well known that we have in a few vegetables and especially the leafy greens, but is that enough for us, especially in our days with the agriculture and the soil problem that we're dealing with, especially in America?
Well, that was a very important question, and a question we set out to answer, I guess, almost 10 years ago. And the answer is probably not. Because depending on where you live and what vegetables you're eating, how they're grown, whether they're organic or conventionally grown, there's really not enough nitrate in the vegetables that we eat to get enough nitrate to make enough nitric oxide to normalize your blood pressure. So we almost have to supplement. And then, it's also known that if you use mouthwash, or if you're using antacids, then you lose the benefits of exercise, the nitric oxide benefits of exercise. So there are a lot of things that we as Americans, in fact people all over the world, do that disrupt nitric oxide production. So I tell people, you really just got to do two things. Stop doing the things that disrupt nitric oxide production and start doing the things that promote it. So that includes stop using mouthwash, get rid of fluoride. Fluoride kills the bacteria, it's a neurotoxin, and stop using antacids. And then once you do that, then the body's now equipped where it can generate nitric oxide. And then if you start to exercise, throw in some more green leafy vegetables, get 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure a day, then your body can make nitric oxide.
Simple wisdom, right?
Very simple. It's a very complicated science, but it's a very simple strategy.
Simple strategy, although we were made to believe that mouthwash is good and it's treating other things, and even fluoride, it was a good thing at the beginning. Antacids that people really use as a treatment, but however, it doesn't seem that it's a good idea for us.
Well, that's called progress. We know things today that we didn't know 50 years ago, and so those old modalities should change based on the new science. So the science is clear. If you use mouthwash, it causes an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. In fact, 200 million Americans use mouthwash every day, and 200 million Americans have an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. So, and fluoride, fluoride's been a known toxin for hundreds of years, but yet it's still in the municipal water supply. So we have to get rid of fluoride in our toothpaste, we have to get rid of fluoride in our drinking water, and then stop using an acid. The body needs stomach acid in order to break down proteins into amino acids. We need stomach acid to make nitric oxide. So taking antacids is a really bad idea, especially chronically.
Yes, and chronically, what happens to us if we lose nitric oxide over time?
Well, the data are very clear. If you lose nitric oxide, you accelerate cardiovascular disease, you accelerate atherosclerosis, you increase your risk of heart attack and stroke, you develop metabolic disease, insulin-resistant type 2 diabetes. So every single chronic disease that we deal with today, not just in America but globally, can all be attributed to a loss of nitric oxide. So the most important thing you can do is to employ strategies to make nitric oxide.
Right. Well, what would be one strategy?
Well, again, stop using mouthwash, stop using antacids, moderate physical exercise, throw in some more green leafy vegetables, or we have product technology that actually generates nitric oxide gas for you. So through 20 years of research and development, we've identified and discovered technology that does it for you. If your body can't make nitric oxide, then we do it for you.
Okay, could you explain a little bit more how does this work for our audience, and how could they come to you and ask for help?
Sure. Well, I think people need to understand nitric oxide is a gas, right? And we were the first people to develop a solid dose form of this gas. So we did this in the form of an orally disintegrating tablet. We've got a lozenge called NO2U. And when you put the lozenge in your mouth, it dissolves over 5 to 6 minutes. And during that 5 to 6 minutes, it releases nitric oxide gas. So again, if your body can't make it, we do it for you. And then we've developed a beet powder, a fermented beet powder, that when you put it in water in solution, it generates nitric oxide gas. Then when you consume it, we're generating nitric oxide throughout the entire body. And interestingly, we removed the beet color, the beet taste, and the oxalates from the beet. So now we've got a great tasting fermented beet product called NO Beets. And we've actually extended that technology into skincare. So the skin is an organ just like any other organ. Without sufficient blood flow, it fails. So we developed a topical nitric oxide serum. It's a dual chamber. You mix the two components together and they generate nitric oxide gas. And when you apply it to the skin, you can actually see it working. The skin will turn pink, which is reflective of increased blood flow. And we've got 4 published clinical trials on that. So, tone, texture, clarity improves. You get improved hydration, improved collagen deposition, and it just gets to the root cause of aging.
Indeed, yeah. So it sounds like we can attack it from multiple sources now. And that's great that you took the beet flavor out, because honestly, not a lot of people just love
right.
beets. It's an important vegetable, but doesn't taste great.
It's the 3rd most disliked vegetable in the world. And so the benefits of beet are pretty apparent based on the published literature, but we've optimized the nitric oxide activity of the beets and then taken out the beet color. So now we have a great tasting white beet fermented powder that really is a great energy product.
How often do you recommend taking it?
Well, everybody's different, but I think we need daily nitric oxide repletion. So for me, I take 1 lozenge, usually once or twice a day, and then I take the NO Beets beet powder, usually before I go to the gym, before a workout, or as an afternoon pick-me-up. And then I use the skin serum, every night before I go to bed.
And all of this, of course, on top of eating healthy and still exercising.
No, that's right. I mean, we still, it's not, you still have to do the right things, right? You still have to eat a balanced diet in moderation. We still have to get exercise. We have to move. But that strategy, combining all these and stacking these different biohacks, starting with nitric oxide as the foundation, I think is really the key for people living better, longer, healthier lives.
Indeed, and thank you for that. And I know you've done extensive studies on it. What piqued your interest at the very beginning?
Well, I was a student at LSU School of Medicine back in the, early 2000s, right at 2000. A Nobel Prize had just been awarded for the discovery of nitric oxide. And during one of my research rotations, I was in a lab that was studying nitric oxide. And, we knew it was an important molecule, but there was still a lot we didn't know, and it was 22 years ago. So for me, it was just the importance of this molecule, and then so many unanswered questions that through science and research and discovery, we could figure out how the body makes this molecule. So I set my path out on that, in 2000, 2001, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
What are you the most excited about in your work?
For me, it's bringing new technology to the masses. We've been very successful in the nutrition dietary supplement space. Our skincare product, we've created a new product category in skincare. But for me, it's drug development. I got involved in academic medical research to develop safe and effective drugs that would impact the lives of everybody on the planet. So I think our drug discovery program gets me most excited because we've got drugs now in phase 3 clinical trials for COVID-19. We're seeing very good effects, and we realized early on that people that were getting sick and dying from COVID were the patients who couldn't make nitric oxide. So it made sense to us to develop a nitric oxide-based drug for COVID. And now we've developed a drug therapy for Alzheimer's, for ischemic non-obstructive coronary disease, for ischemic heart disease, and now we have a drug technology for diabetic and pressure ulcers, a topical drug for that. So I think that's going to transform healthcare over the next 100 years, and that's what I'm excited about.
That's quite exciting for sure. How long do you think it's going to be before we can have access to all of them?
Well, our COVID drug study, we should have that completely enrolled by the end of the year. The other drug studies will probably take a year. So I anticipate by the end of 2023, early 24, we'll have a number of drugs on the market that physicians can then use in their patients and make the patients better.
Will this be mostly throughout the United States, or are you looking to expand this all worldwide?
Well, typically in the U.S., if you do an FDA clinical trial and the U.S. government, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. approves the drug, other government regulatory agencies will approve it based on U.S. drug approval. So we anticipate if we get drug approval in the U.S., that other countries will bring that drug technology in. So it'll be a global product.
I see. What do you see that impacts the most your work and people that usually are trying to get more nitric oxide and they change their diet, they supplement on it? What do you see that changes the most in their lives?
Well, I mean, it's the tangible things, you know, like blood pressure, better energy, better sexual function, because those are things people can measure and they're important. In fact, blood pressure is the #1 modifiable risk factor for cardiovascular disease, the #1 killer of men and women worldwide. For me, the most exciting thing is we can now, for the first time, start getting people off of drug therapy. You know, people in the U.S., especially the older population, they're over-medicated. People are on 6, 10, 12 different prescription medications, and it disrupts human physiology. So once you restore nitric oxide production, you can start weaning people off different medications. And once you do that, then the body can actually do what it's designed to do and heal itself. So to me, that's a very tangible effect in how we're really transforming and changing people's lives. Number one, we're keeping them off drug therapy and keeping them better. And then number two, if they're already over-medicated, we can start, you know, they can have a conversation with their physician of, how can you start weaning me off this drug therapy rather than putting me on another drug?
Yes.
And that's never occurred in the history of the world, especially in modern medicine.
Indeed, and it seems like it's picking up a little bit faster, and of course for us being in this world we notice it a little bit more, but functional medicine seems to be the new approach, and doing this holistically with drugs that don't create any other side effects is the best way to go.
Yeah, the biohacking community is usually the early adopters, right? They're picking up things that the mainstream medical community is years away from even picking up. So the biohackers are the ones that are in tune with the latest technology that's really impacting and affecting public health. But it takes a while. We know it takes an average of 17 years for new discoveries to become kind of mainstream in mainstream medicine. So we're there. We're past 17 years in the discovery of nitric oxide. So for me, it's about education and awareness around this molecule. And that's why I speak and appreciate the opportunity to speak at the Biohacking Congress, as well as other mainstream medical conferences, because physicians and patients need to know about this molecule, and they need to know what strategies are out there that are safe and effective to restore nitric oxide. And when you do that, it changes people's lives.
Indeed, indeed. And you are indeed a disruptor in the space, and it takes courage to be able to talk about it and maybe not be believed or be criticized for years from other practitioners just because you're taking a different approach. But it's an amazing work, and we're grateful to have you here as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, what we do is very disruptive, and but these are fundamental truths that we've discovered. And if you go back to Schopenhauer, the old philosopher, he said that fundamental truths go through 3 stages. First, they're ridiculed, they're violently opposed, and then they're accepted as being self-evident. So I've witnessed that in just my 20-year career. I was ridiculed by my colleagues. Now I'm being violently opposed because this is disruptive technology. I've got people suing me personally, suing my companies because what we're doing is really disruptive. But it's also self-evident that nitric oxide-based therapies will change the world, will change people's lives. So I just, I fight the fight, and I stand with knowing that the truth is on our side.
Yes, we just may need another 10 years to be approved and clapped by everyone else.
That's
but
right.
We're heading there for sure.
It will happen for sure.
Okay, what are you excited to share with us? Where do you see this in the next 10 years, let's say?
Well, I think nitric oxide will be as pervasive as fish oils or vitamin C or vitamin D. It will be something that the masses know about and will take on a daily basis. It will be part of people's daily nutrition and strategy. So just like most Americans supplement because certain nutrients are missing from their diet, people will take a nitric oxide based product technology because the effects of nitric oxide are far superior than simply supplementing vitamin D or vitamin C or fish oil. We know, chronically long-term studies, you see the benefits. But nitric oxide is so potent and quick-acting that people see the effects immediately. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to continue to educate and inform and lecture all around the world and teach people about nitric oxide. But I think the wave is coming. It is the way of the future. And the science is clear. Your body cannot and will not heal or perform optimally until you restore nitric oxide.
That's great. Do you have future conferences that you will be attending, local, worldwide?
Well, next week I'm headed to Tokyo, headed to Japan. We have an international nitric oxide conference next week where I'll be. And then, I give 30 or 40 lectures and 30 or 40 events every year on nitric oxide. So I'll continue to do that because I think this is too important for people not to know about. And the biohacking community is, really the trendsetters that are ahead of the curve. And this is a very important community to educate and inform on nitric oxide.
That's a great work to be done, and especially going to Tokyo, and that's an amazing place and a blueprint. So
that's right. No, I'm excited. I think there's nothing. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I mean, there's nothing more gratifying than do what I do and getting dozens of emails and phone calls and texts from people that we've changed their lives. And very few people have that opportunity to change lives. And I'm very fortunate to be in a position to do that. We've just through the product technology that we've discovered and brought to market.
Indeed, and we are very blessed to hear from you as well. And I know we're going to be seeing you at the next Biohacking Congress as well in Austin in February.
Right.
So that's exciting as well. How can people get in touch with you if they want to know more or to even get help?
So I send people to my educational website. I think the most important thing people can do is get an education and awareness around nitric oxide. And that website is www.drnathansbryan.com. Got a 6-minute video on there that'll teach you about nitric oxide. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Nathan S. Bryan, Twitter at Dr. Nitric, LinkedIn. We're on social media, and we try to be active and try to put out some timely, practical information and post on what people can do to make some simple changes and restore their nitric oxide.
If you were to choose one thing to advise people related to the nitric oxide, what would be the most important? Just one. What can they do about it?
Well, the simplest, easiest thing is take a product that actually generates nitric oxide. So there are dozens, if not hundreds, of nitric oxide products on the market, and 99% of them don't do anything, because those products are giving you precursors or substrates that the body can no longer convert to nitric oxide. And that's the reason they're nitric oxide deficient. So our technology is unlike any other. So if you're nitric oxide deficient, then you take our products that actually generates nitric oxide for you. It's the safest, cleanest, most effective way to restore nitric oxide, is take a product technology that does it for you. And that's what we do.
That's amazing.
And our products can be found at www.no2u.com. That's our supplements and nutritionals. Our skincare line is found at n101.com.
That's great. I cannot wait to go and try it on myself at the booth here, and I highly advise you to give it a try as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Bryan, for allowing this time and for the work you do, not only here but in the world. We're blessed to have you, and hope to see you soon again at the next conference.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.